Everyone, welcome to SALTcast, where every Monday we discuss what's happening right now in the Masters Alliance war scene. We're back, and it's about 2 weeks in, season 45. Encyclopedia, thanks for being with us. How was your week?
Wars 5 and 6 were great. I have no memory of War 7 at all.
Salty had another kind of rough one this week. Very nice wins against JA and LVT. Very tight one against LVT. It really came down to the wire, but luckily we were able to pull that one out on time. What were our attack bonuses again for against JA and LVT?
So JA had a really rough war. That they only managed a 1-9 versus them, so that was a good one for us. LVT, I believe, was 3-3 on a draw. Might have been 4-4, but it was a good one. And then us versus XK9, we dropped 5 to their 1. Really good war from XK9.
You know, LVT, one that we were kind of really had our eye on and kind of a little bit worried about. We managed to get that one, and then XK9, kind of a sleeper who we were looking at because they had managed to drop into Plat 1 last week with, some tough matches, but it looks like they've really decided to pull it back, and they managed to take it off of us.
100%, yeah. LVT are strong this season. Strong, but just a bit slow. They are suffering in that ties department. But yeah, XK9 all I can say is congrats to them. Really, really good.
Yeah, big congrats to anyone who does end up beating us. We're not actually salty about it. I mean, a little bit, but not towards you. It's
professionally salty. It's fine.
As you said last time, salt in our own wounds. It was a pretty tough week for me, man. I lost my deathless streak that I've been working on for a couple of seasons, so have to start fresh and get refocused, not let it hit me too hard. But that's just how war is,
It's always the way.
Just got to get used to it. You win some, you lose some. But we still got a lot of things to talk about, especially with how other alliances are doing coming up in our war news. And so honored to have such a special guest today.
Absolutely. I can't believe we actually managed to pull that one off, but something to really look forward to.
Yeah. Stay tuned for our interview with Fintech and kind of poking his brain a little bit on war and battlegrounds and getting to see what he was up to at the Battlerealm Brawl. Gotta be up there for top in the world. I mean, just such a great player, and he's always on the cutting edge. That's pretty much everything we've got planned today, but real quick, we've got Triple U who's going to be showing us this fight of the week from MCOC Beyond. Take it away.
So Tala kindly sent us a Symbiote Supreme versus R3 Maestro boss, and he's using Symbiote Supreme, which is a really cool counter. And Tala is, of course, the leader of Nefty, as a lot of you know. Okay, so he has a PS1 on, and he's heavying presumably for space. So the game plan with Symbiote Supreme is going to be to nullify and use your special 3 rotations to cycle your special 2s. Okay, let's check this out. Here we go. He's building up to his first special. Going to bait out that special 2. Okay. And then he wants to get up to 100 charges so that he can have more power gain after that special 3. And the other thing he's going to do that's really, really smart and really crafty is he's going to wait until the mode almost expires so that he can use that power gain twice. So you're going to notice that when it expires, he's going to get a burst of power as well. So really, really good lineup there. Okay. Special 3 does almost no damage, but afterwards you're going to see where all that damage comes in. Okay, so you see that power gain that I was just talking about, and he gets a special 2 off. He has power backs on as well as all of those modes. And then he gets another special 2 off. Boom, boom, boom. The armor breaks are doing good work, even with the glancing, and then he throws another one. Okay, it's reset time, so we're going to go back to special 3. He honestly could have thrown this. I probably would have thrown that, just because with the power backs, probably would have gotten a fair amount of power, but he elects to go for the special 3, which is also a very good option. Okay, so here he is. He's going to be at full power, and now he just wants to build back up to those 100 charges. The other thing that you can do is wait out the meltdown. So he's going to wait out the meltdown so that he can hit a little bit harder once the special 3 goes off, and he can remove that glancing. So the glancing's gone. Now you want to get up some charges. Okay, nullifies that, which means he's good to go, and he baits this just so he doesn't have power, and then he's going to go ahead and throw this. Perfect. Okay, throws that special 3, and now it's cycle part 2. He is losing the health race right now, but that's about to change when he can get the special 2 cycle off. Okay, here we go. Gonna bait this out of him. I probably would not have baited this, to be honest, just because I think it wastes a little bit of time. Or I guess he just goes for a heavy and then starts to go in. Okay, and then he can get the special 2 off, and then he has a special 2. Again, he can throw this. All right. And me personally, I would have waited a tiny bit and then thrown this special 2 with the last hit of it right here, going into the power steal mode, and then he wouldn't have had power. But instead, he elects to go for the special 3, which also works. Again, he has straight up to 100 charges, so we can just toss it. There is a glancing mode up for Maestro, but that is okay. He's going to try to power through that. All right. There we go. Nullifies all of the buffs. And here we go. Baits the heavy. Look at all that power gain. Drops that special 2. Beautiful. And he has another special 2 ready. And yeah, that is the fight. So really, really interesting and really cool fight from Tala there on the rank 3 Maestro boss.
Yeah, a pretty cool fight that, at a time where people have a lot of questions about Maestro and how we're going to handle him, not only this season, but going into the future. Sim Supreme seems like he might be a good one for people to consider.
100%, yeah. You can see him going in. There is confidence in his sort of play style, and that's a rank 5, but not an ascended Sim Supreme. So there is an increased power level on that. And I don't see it that long before Sim Supreme also enters the 7-star pools. Then we can access to some really beefy ones. Those really big special 2 crits coming through, particularly right at the end. And I mean, it was a long time ago when we saw Sim Supreme as the counter for the old champion boss. It looks like he might be making a return.
Yeah, it's always. I feel like there's always like once a year that there's this new boss or something, and then Sim Supreme just starts like poking his head back in and like, I'm back. And all the Sim Supreme lovers are cheering. So people who are doing Maestro right now, Fintech, recently released a great video on what he has been doing to deal with it, which is using Kate Bishop plus some Mr. Fantastic pre-fights, using the current attack tactic to negate any of the damage over time. What is it? What I call it, radiation that he has.
Cosmic radiation.
And then Kate Bishop, of course, having those forever lasting cold snaps that do tons of damage. You just kind of have to just keep your debuffs up. So yeah, it's kind of cool. We decided to go and just feature this Sim Supreme fight because we're not sure who the best options would be going next season when that tactic is no longer available.
Really, really nice fight.
Yeah, thanks to MCOC Beyond for letting us use that video. Really great fight, man. And keep it up. We like to see stuff like this. So we're going to be next going over to doing our war news. And how about Encyclopedia? Why don't you take it away?
Let's dive right in. Welcome to War News for Wars 5, 6, and 7 of Season 45. GT40 still in the lead, 7-0, absolutely crushing it. Nefty, 6-1, the only alliance to be in that slot, and that only loss was in fact to GT40 right at the start. PBT, SSX, and XK9 at 5-2, with 4 Loki, LVT, New Nation, Salty, and SGA1 all down at 4 and 3. DVSG, JA, PYCB all 3 and 4, with Next struggling slightly at 2 and 5. We also have Zine at 4 and probably 3. We're unsure of their War 7 results, but 4 and 3 seems the most likely. We also don't have the War 7 score for TCN, so it's highly likely they're at 3 and 4, but it is possible it's 2 and 5. One of the big wars we were looking out for, GT40 versus PBT, was War 5. GT40 pulled out a massive win versus PBT, really placing them right at the top of the list. War 5, we also saw Nefty going against LVT, LVT losing on time. Again, that's the second time this season they've lost on time. And AF against Zine. Zine now seeing some of that stronger matchmaking coming into play, and they took quite a heavy loss. Going into War 6, we see Nefty versus PBT, a very interesting war, but actually Nefty pulling out a big win over PBT. Probably not the way a lot of people might have seen that one going. Nefty really showing themselves to be right at the top of their game. Salty beat LVT on time again. That's the third war LVT have lost on time, and in fact, all of their losses are down to time. A fast LVT would be something to fear. War 7, GT40 pulling out a perfect clear versus SGA. Very nicely done. And in quite an upset, XK9 managed to beat Salty very handily, 1-5. Looking at the overall season so far then, GT40 are still winning, the only people to sit there at 7-0. At this point, their first place looks much more likely, but no one can count anything just yet. Nefty also going extremely strong, 6-1, but their only drop has been against GT40. Will anyone manage to beat GT40? It's interesting to see. Zine have had a tough week, losing 2 or 3 wars. It's interesting to see how this slightly tougher matchmaking is really pushing them, and it'll be interesting to see exactly how they go moving forwards. LVT are also a tough opponent by the looks of it, but they are struggling on time. They have lost 3 wars this season, all of them on time. Either get that just one extra death down, or they've really got to speed up to pull out against some of the really tough opponents. So my picks for wars to look out for are pretty much anyone versus Nefty. Let's see them really solidify that top spot. And that's your news.
So Encyclopedia, last week we said that we had a few wars we thought, were going to come up soon that would kind of shed some more light on how the season goes. And I tell you, we got a few of those wars, but I think we just walked away with more questions than answers.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the ones we were looking out for was that GT40 versus PBT. They were both right at the top of their games, going 4-0. Were they going 4-0?
Yes.
They were. Okay.
Yeah.
Both going 4-0, and we really wanted to see who actually was going to pull out that victory, and then GT40 go and absolutely hammer them. No offense to anyone in PBT, but they had an absolutely amazing war. You guys had a rougher time on their defense. But GT40 this season are just playing next level. We've had 7 wars, and they've got 8 deaths. I mean, what do you do against that? Unless you can like a guaranteed perfect clear, you aren't going to beat these guys anytime soon.
Yeah, GT40 are playing out of their minds this season. Whether they'll continue to play at this, high of a level consistently throughout the rest of the season, who's to say?
Looking at their matchups, they've had a lot of the tough ones. They've had SGA, they've had SSX, they've had DSVG, they've had Nefty. A lot of their really tough matchups are already gone.
That's true. Let's see. I don't think NewN hasn't faced them yet.
NewN's on my lookout for list.
We haven't faced them yet, so maybe there's some opportunities, but I really don't see there's being any competitor against them this season. Some of the alliances we were looking at pretty carefully last week ended up having a few disappointing results or very narrow ones. LVT, they were playing extremely well, like pretty much tied with GT40, then just losing that war on time. But the same story happens again against Nefty and then against Salty. I don't know. There's been a little bit of inconsistency within some of the top alliances.
You really have to feel for LVT. They're ignoring their War 5, where they dropped a few extra ones. They have consistently been 3 or low, and they got a perfect clear in War 2. And against any normal opponent, they should be absolutely clearing up with that level. but they've lost 3 wars, and all of them have been on time. So you've really got to feel for those guys. They're getting shafted by the drawing mechanism. If there was a different decider on a tiebreak, amount of health left, biggest hit, whatever, that you could see them having a drastically different season.
Yeah, it's rough whenever you get so close to something, but then you still kind of feel so far away. They still have an opportunity to have a good season, I think, if they really pull it together.
100%, absolutely.
Let's see. Nefty, they're still going strong. I don't know if do you think anybody's gonna start getting some losses on them, or
Nefty are an interesting one because their sort of death average is completely out of whack because they dropped so many in their first war. But since then, they've really pulled themselves together, and they've been between 2 and 6 for the entire rest of the season. So it's very difficult to judge them. Was that war 1 just an off day? What was going on? Who knows? But they have won every single war, apart from against GT40, which at this point we kind of just assume is a done thing. So if you ignore any GT40 wars, they are 6-0, which is an impressive run.
yeah. We'll just have to keep on watching them. They definitely have a very strong spot, halfway into the season here. SSX, I thought they seem like they're doing very well too. I mean, they dropped 1 against us, which was, I think, also a tie that we won on time. And the only other loss they had was to GT40. So SSX looking very, very strong. I could definitely see a podium placement if they continue to perform like they have.
Absolutely. They were up against NewN in War 5 and didn't bat an eyelid, just kept going.
Still several questions that need to be answered, but it's really getting kind of muddled up. Like some alliances, they're doing very poorly against some alliances that they would maybe normally win, or Salty, as of course, we lost another one to XK9, who managed to get a 1 death clear against us. That was, another poor performance from our side, but also like they played very well that war. So even if we did better, there's a chance we would have still lost. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how things end up averaging out over the course of 12 wars, but right now things are still very much up in the air for who's going to get maybe the 2 other podium spots or
absolutely. 10. And it's very odd to see in some places Alliance 1 versus Alliance 2, where Alliance 1's been absolutely crushing it and Alliance 2 has been struggling a little bit. And then we just have a random war where Alliance 2 just pulls it out the bag, goes for a 1 or perfect death clear. And somehow, Alliance 1 struggles that war. And there's very little consistency this season. There are apart from GT40, there are no clear lines that have been drawn yet. The closest one is Nefty. But everybody else is a bit all over the place. But even Nefty had their really odd first war. So it's very difficult to see what's going on.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going off the track from kind of the trends of the last few seasons, where for the most part, Alliance has had sort of a range of deaths that they stayed in, and the results seemed a little bit more predictable the last couple seasons. So with this unpredictability, there's definitely a lot of things to keep discussing in the future about who we think is going to win. It's definitely not clear at this point. So, yeah, I don't know if there's anything else going on. I mean, we talked about Necropolis last week, and this week we've had our Cyber Weekend deals. They seemed pretty tame, not too game changing, but there's still the measurement of some people are Valiants and some people are not, so they're getting access to slightly better deals, and those people are also more likely to spend more money probably. So it's a couple people with an extra rank 3 or a couple of ascended champions here and there. I mean, it could make a difference.
Absolutely. I think regardless of source, the rise in rank 3 champions is a big deal. Whether on offense or on defense, that extra health and attack on both sides is absolutely critical. There are many a situation where your big burst at that special 2 or special 3 has left them on 1 health point or 1%. If you just had that extra rank or they'd been 1 lower, but you've left them on, you took a risk, you left them on 2% health, and now they've got a special 3. The fight goes out of control. It's not difficult to see how that extra rank can really, really change up things.
Yeah, starting to get into the dawn, or the kind of the dusk of 6 stars. They got to live a little bit longer with ascensions and stuff, but with 7 stars rank 3s, it's there isn't a most powerful class of champions that are coming, and yeah, 7 stars are gonna really start paving the way. I mean, already so many people I've been matching in Battlegrounds that all these people have like full rosters of rank 2s and rank 3s. The game looks a lot different than it did a month ago.
Yeah, and we're continuing to see that 7-star pool grow and grow, and every time it does, there's a new attacker, a new defender that gets added, and it's just going to become tougher and tougher.
I think that pretty much covers everything for our war news this week. Make sure to tune in again next week as we get you caught up with wars 8 through, we did 5 through 7 this week, right? So next week will be...
Yeah, so next week will either be 8, 9, 10. It'll probably be 8, 9, 10 next year. You want to do that bit again?
So yeah. So next week will be 8, 9, 10, and the week after we will find out what the final standings were. So right now we're going to go and shoot over to Triple U, who's going to be introducing the man who probably needs no introduction, but we're going to do it anyways because we're very honored to have him. And yeah, take it away, Triple.
It's safe to say that Fintech is one of the greatest players in Marvel Contest of Champions as a whole. He has placed in the top 10 in Battlegrounds full seasons, has had multiple 100-0 deathless streaks, and is one of, if not the top Kitty and Tiger players, along with many other champions as well. What you may know him for, beyond all those things, is that he was just recently in the Battlerealm Brawl, which is the new version of the Summoner Showdown, and he actually won. So he won the tournament to crown, I don't know if I would call it the best champion, but he won the tournament, the Kabam tournament, to crown a winner of the game, at least for the next year, which is really, really cool. And he also was a part of Summoner Showdown a couple of years ago as well. And so this is all to say that he's a very, very knowledgeable, talented, and accomplished player that has a lot to offer and has a lot of knowledge. Whenever I have a question, he is one of the first people that I ask for an answer because he knows a lot and has a lot of experience with just about anything in this game.
Ladies and gentlemen, joining us today, we have arguably the best player in the world right now, the winner of the Vancouver Battlegrounds Championship, Fintech. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, and I'd say it's debatable whether or not I'm the best player, since not everyone was qualified for the tournament anyways.
Hence, arguably.
Yeah.
I'd say I was rewatching it back just before this started, and it's incredible the level of skill on play. So whether it's top or top 5, I don't think anyone could argue in the right situation anyone could take it, but in that moment, you took it.
I guess that is fair to say.
We're so glad to have you here with us, so really thank you for coming on and chatting with us today.
Yeah, no worries. I'm looking forward to it. I have never done one of these before.
Neither have I. This will be fine.
Alrighty.
Why don't you give us a start then? How did you start playing MCOC? Was it something you instantly fell in love with or took a bit of time to warm to? And really, where did it go from the beginning?
At first, one of my friends recommended the game to me. I didn't know about it beforehand. He showed me the game and I just started playing it with him, like trying to compete who finishes Act 3 first and stuff like that. And it kind of took off from there. At one point, I did take a few months of a break from the game. And after that, I came back and I've been playing basically daily ever since.
I think that's probably a pattern a lot of us can fall into. It's just like, oh yeah, it's fine. And then you realize it's been 6 months and you haven't put it down yet.
Yeah.
What's one of your earliest memories that you sort of really remember? Do you remember putting Maestro down or Thanos or that sort of thing?
Very early on, I do remember struggling with the Thanos boss in Act 3. And then when I finally got my first 3-star champion, who was Ronan, that kind of helped things out a little bit. But back then, it was a struggle going through Act content.
Yeah, I suppose back before, when 3 stars were the 7 stars, certainly things were a little more interesting. Has the story sort of progressed for you since then? Like, how was Act 6 for you when that came out? It's certainly a little tougher than it was today.
Act 6 was difficult to do when it first came out, but at the time it was also one of my favorite pieces of content in the game, because it was so difficult. I'm still a little bit sad that they nerfed most of the bosses and nodes in there.
Yeah, perhaps a tad overtuned, but it was certainly a nice step up for Act 5 for those that really wanted the challenge for it.
Yeah, definitely was.
So did you go into this with the thoughts of, I want to get better, I want to be the best? Or was it just sort of something you've naturally always looking to learn, always looking to improve, and just over time you've really pushed yourself to the peak?
It was never about me trying to be the best in regards to other people, but whatever I do in the game and how good I'm at using certain champions, for example, I just want to aim to be the best I possibly can for myself. And that's just, well, led me to where I am now, so I guess it has worked out so far.
Very clearly. How was your sort of reaction to the game when the sort of the PvP Battlegrounds was announced and was first brought out and was in its early stages? Then was that something that you instantly went, that is something I'm going to love, I need to push on that, or were you hesitant at first?
No, I was on board with it from as soon as they announced the whole thing, since I had played the game mode beforehand for the Samurai Showdown in 2021.
That was back with was it the King Groots or the nameless bosses? There was the Hyperion was one of them?
Yes, I believe so.
So speaking of Battlegrounds, of course, Vancouver, Victor. A title I'm sure you wear with much pride.
Oh, definitely.
Walk us through then those final few fights against Pepe. What was sort of going through your mind on stage there then?
Well, the final few, I can't really remember the exact fights other than the final one with Spider-Ham against Dr. Doom. On stage, I knew that I should have the win right then and there with the matchups that I had, but my heart dropped when I messed it up and ate the special 2 from Doom. I was so sure I threw it away, and when your mental state is hit like that in a big tournament, it's most likely over, so it would have been bad.
Managed to clutch it back right at the end.
Well, my defender did it, to be fair.
Would you say Spider-Ham then is perhaps a champion that needs a little bit more love? Certainly seeing you absolutely crush some fights with him in a matter of seconds.
Oh, for sure, he's one of the strongest attacking champions in the game, or at least fastest when it comes to BGs. Myself, I have him as a 7-star rank 3 right now, so he's definitely very strong and also annoying to fight on defense as well, if you need to put him down.
Absolutely, those animations at the very least, even before you get to his abilities, are all over the place.
Yeah, and his AI likes to, well, be over-aggressive.
I still can't think about those pies. They get to me on that special too. Cool. So, which other champions then do you think are a little bit underrated, either in Battlegrounds or just in general then? Spider-Ham's obviously top of that list, but who else do you think needs to
one of the more recent, well, I guess you could say discoveries would be Venom. And lately, a lot of people have been really starting to notice how good he actually can be.
Yeah, I saw in the tournament that he was on Pepe's ban list over and over and over again.
Yes, shortly before the Vancouver tournament, I had taken mine to rank 2, and I was sharing gameplay online chats, and it was nasty, so I wasn't too surprised when people banned him.
Do you think he needs that SIG and that high SIG to get those second and potentially third buffs from each fight, or do you think he's good unawakened for those that might have just pulled him?
The awakened ability isn't that important, but what is the Venom Relic. You really want a high star level Venom Relic if you have one. And if you do, and you have a Venom, even unduped, even at rank 1, he's gonna melt opponents.
Might have to go look into that afterwards.
So you have been kind of in the front lines of really exploring some of these top high skill champions that take people several months to learn, usually most of the time. One of the primary examples, of course, was starting out was Tigra. I don't know if you were kind of exploded after the release of Tigra and her gameplay and stuff. Of course, well, you and I we're both really big fans because we love Tigra, and that's probably a big part of it was how what you were doing with her whenever she was early on released. And so yeah, I was just curious, what is that like when you're just going and exploring new champions and trying to figure out how they're supposed to be properly played? And are there any champions you're looking at right now?
So that kind of goes back around to what I said earlier about me trying my best to get as good as possible with any champion I start looking at. So with Tigra, when she first came out, just looking at the early YouTube videos, I just didn't see people using her properly, and just reading her abilities, I knew she could be a lot better than people were showing. So as soon as I got my hands on her, I started practicing, and I was pleasantly surprised.
I think a lot of people have been pleasantly surprised when they start playing Tigra properly and go, "Oh, okay, just
Yeah.
oh, hang on, oh, they've disappeared. What happened?"
So yeah,
Okay.
basically, whenever a champion piques my interest, whether they are actually good or not, I just do my best to learn every single trick they have up their sleeve to try to bring them to their highest level and see just how good they actually are. Usually it works out, but there have been a few duds in there as well.
For example?
Off the top of my head, I'm not really sure. I don't want
Who's
to hurt anyone's
useless?
feelings, but
Not
there
even
have been a
Fintech.
few.
It's fine. You can say Captain Britain. It's okay.
I mean, she's one of those champions that I haven't really looked into.
Fair enough. Grass, if you're listening, I'm really
Yeah.
sorry.
I was about to shout out Grass. He's about to dump our channel after that.
I saw your
bouncing.
video, tier one Alliance War, Emma Frost. I saw you do it.
Kind of just bouncing off that question. As somebody who a lot of people look up to as like their favorite person to watch, I'm just kind of curious. Who are some of your favorite players that you like to learn stuff from?
When it comes to learning stuff from, I would say I prefer getting my hands on the champions myself and then practicing. But when it comes to YouTubers I like to watch myself, well, way back then, when Seatin was still posting very often and he was the biggest, name out there, he was my favorite YouTuber to be watching. Nowadays, I'm not so sure. I watch a lot of them, to be honest. I couldn't even name them all right now if I tried to, but the content, it's usually based around gameplay that I watch, so like news and stuff like that, I don't really pay too much attention to. So I'm sure there are plenty of familiar names if I started to go through my subscriber list.
That's fair enough. I suppose you really want to pick up as much gameplay as possible, regardless of source.
Yeah, I'd say so. And once again, finding a champion that piques my interest. If I see some interesting gameplay of a champion, I might just hop in there myself to see what they are all about.
Fair enough. Can we ask who's under the fintech hood at the moment? Is there anyone that you're currently testing out that has a lot more potential and is often seen?
Well, I would say Geoff would be one of them. Since I got the 7-star rank 2 from Vancouver, I've been playing around with her quite a bit, and I have been surprised by how fast she can be in BGs, for example.
Those bleeds can really stack up. Do you go all the way to the
Oh,
special?
definitely.
Do you go all the way to the special 3 for the vicious, or does she not often make it?
In BG setting, I have been just spamming the special 1 to get some more bleeds on every attack.
Makes sense. Can also go up against any unstoppable champions without questions.
Yeah, usually that's not really a big of an issue, though. It's not that often you fight against unstoppable opponents.
So I was wondering if you would kind of go into a little bit of behind the scenes stuff when it comes to New Nation. I don't know how much you feel comfortable kind of talking about some of the planning processes or just what the dynamics are between officers and some of the members. Yeah, we just really are, as part of our mission for our channel, is to help bring stuff that out high tier alliance war to people. And we thought this could be a great opportunity to learn just a little bit more about New Nation. So I don't know, if there's anything that you think might at least sets New Nation apart from other alliances, or something you really like in particular about being there.
Well, I don't have any experience being in other Tier 1 alliances, so I can't exactly compare New Nation to others.
Sure.
And as far as I know in New Nation, I'm not really sure how the other 2 beaches operate, if I'm going to be completely honest. I am personally not in their chats, so I basically just stick around with the own group of 10 people.
Yeah, that sounds like a system that sort of a lot of alliances run, 10 people per battle group, and then someone will say, have you heard of, and you go, oh, I've been in an alliance with them for 3 years and have never talked to them once.
Yeah, I mean, we do have the main chat that we talk in with basically everyone who wants to talk. So, like, we know each other in there. It's just that when it comes to Alliance War and Alliance Quest, we don't really get a sneak peek into other BGs. Though most officers in New Nation are in the other BG chats as well. Personally, just I stick around with my group.
Makes sense. And when it comes to planning, then I know you said you sort of a little bit hands-on, a little bit hands-off. But when you're looking at a map that's just come out, how does your brain sort of work for planning? Do you look at counters? There's a champion, we have a good counter for them, or do you look for sort of more player focused? As in, I know X player can take this particular set of fights.
It's a bit of both, but usually how we start in my BG at least is that I look at the fights that I can take myself, then build a team around that. I'll take as many fights as possible, and after that we start looking at the other people, what they have, what they need to bring, and what they can do, and what they are comfortable using in Alliance War, and then build the plan around that. Of course, all the time that doesn't really work out, and the initial plan I had for myself, for example, doesn't work with the champions other people have left, so there usually needs to be some adjustments.
I've seen you absolutely shredding fights with Kate in War. Is she your go-to attacker, or is it much more dependent on who's on defense?
Well, this season Kate Bishop has been my most used attacker since the decay tactic makes her overpowered for the current defense tactic and a few other nodes as well. Generally speaking, though, I do have a lot of different champions I use in Alliance War.
Fair enough. Is there someone on the map on any node that makes you worried slightly, or you could just take the whole map and you go, yeah, it's fine?
Well, there are a couple nodes in there that I don't really have a champion ranked up that could take them comfortably, but usually, if need be, I can take most nodes in there with the champions that I have. Usually, just it's not the safest option or the best option, so we don't go that route.
Makes sense. And we've already faced NewN this season, so do you want to give us an example?
Honestly, off the top of my head, I haven't considered what I can't take. It's only if it comes up and I noticed, okay, yeah, I don't have an option for that.
That's fair enough. The war map changes enough that it's hard to keep track of.
Yeah, there are a few nodes and fights that are, well, basically the same every single time. For example, Sassy on 38, the ebb and flow knockdown node. That's basically just always there.
Yeah, don't talk to me about that fight, please.
Alright.
We don't talk about Sassy on 38. No, that makes sense. Actually, I saw your Maestro boss solo with Kate, and you just went through, this is everything that's wrong with Maestro, and here's how Kate basically gets around all of it, so off we go. And then everyone's looking at this terrifying defender who's got everything, and you're just like, that's not an issue.
I mean, he will be a problem next season when Decay doesn't work anymore.
Do you see a potential counter that isn't Decay, or is it just Kate and race the clock?
So far, I have seen a couple solos. Professor X was one of them, though it did not look safe. Once the cosmic radiation started ticking, it went south very quickly, but the video that I saw, they did still get the solo. Another one would be Kushala, but she's a new champion, so not a lot of people have her yet. Also, Symbiote Supreme was one of them as well.
Yeah, we've seen a few people considering Sim Supreme, and an old god coming back for a last hurrah.
Yeah, for example, my rank 3 Maestro was soloed by a Sim Supreme this war. Which did surprise me a little bit, since they finished with quite a lot of health. I would like to see the fight, but I haven't seen a video floating around yet.
When it comes to Alliance War, then, what do you think makes a good defense for those that are trying to improve their defense as a sort of a hands half on a planner? What do you think makes it really tricky for you?
Playing with your bands. The attacker bands that you choose, you need to build your map so that it complements them. And then splitting paths with defenders that you need to have separate counters for, so you can't just steamroll through all the defense in a row with just the same attacking champion. That makes planning for the defense very easy to do, and usually it does not result in any kills if you do so. So you really need to take some time to think about the defenders that you're placing and where they cannot be taken with just a single champion.
There we go then. How to make your defense the worst possible. Move people around. Finally then, what do you think your sort of goals are for like the future of MCOC? Are you going to continue trying to push Battlegrounds, or is there something else that piques your interest?
I don't really have a set goal at the moment. I will just keep playing as I always have. I will be participating in as many BG tournaments, like community tournaments, as I can whenever I have the time. And then maybe next year, if there's going to be another brawl, I will do my best to try to qualify for that. So we'll see how it goes.
Certainly look forward to it. Do you enjoy the community organized ones as well? Do you think that's something that there should be more of and sort of fleshed out a bit?
Oh, for sure. They are a lot of fun. I've been in plenty of them so far, won a couple as well. And I already am, I believe, in 3 different ones that are either already active or coming soon.
That's certainly something to keep you busy with.
The majority of your content really is war videos, and I don't know. I just kind of want to see, would you consider war to be one of your favorite game modes, and if so, why?
At this point in time, I would say Battlegrounds is my favorite mode, but Alliance War is still up there, just because it's a competitive mode and a team-based one at that. So I don't know. I am a competitive person, so Alliance War hits the mark there. Now, as far as my content goes, well, yeah, it is very heavy on the war side, but there are plans for plenty of other things. I just gotta get started on those. It's just, I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Sure. Yeah. Do you like the teamwork aspect of that game mode, or do you really wish it could be condensed to something like Battlegrounds as well, where it's more of a 1v1 or maybe even a smaller team?
Well, I do like it as it is when it works. But when you have rough seasons and rough wars, well, there are bad days as well.
Yeah, we're feeling that lately
Yeah.
too. So um, I definitely understand that. But there's always next season. But yeah, I can when you're a week or two in, you still got to play the rest of the season, even though you've kind of thrown it. It feels like it drags, but yeah, it's definitely fun. I like working with the team, and I like seeing what other people around me are doing, and whenever you have to come up with creative solutions to get somebody over here, and how do we get this one champ for just this one fight, even though they can't do much else? See, like, is it worth it? And yeah, I think the planning aspect is a lot of fun. It's kind of more like a classical chess game rather than Battlegrounds, which would be like a bullet chess or something.
A huge thank you to Fintech for joining us today. You've been absolutely amazing, my friend. Any final words?
Well, thank you for having me. For one, I don't know. It has been interesting being on one of these for once, and I'll probably look into being more of this kind of stuff in the future as well. At least I'm not opposed to it.
I'll take interesting. You go out there, you win again next year, and we'll more than happily have you back.
We'll see how it goes.
Well, best of luck to you in the future, and I hope your Battlegrounds drafts are friendly.
They never are.
Thank you for joining us, Fintech. We're really happy to have you.
Thank you.
Well, it really was a great honor having Fintech on our channel here. Such, I don't know, almost unequal when it comes to just performance and stuff. I mean, he's just on the cutting edge of these new champions, and he plays so well all the time. I don't know if he just practices stuff all the time or if he's just, he's just so talented and he just goes in there. But it was definitely a lot of fun to pick his brain on some things. So thank you for
Absolutely.
conducting that interview.
No worries. You could see on stage at the Battleground Brawl, sometimes he wasn't the best, but he was always the most consistent. And I think that's really what helped him take it home. Absolutely amazing talent.
Yeah, a really important person in the MCOC community and has been for quite a while. If I probably mean as small of a channel as this is, you probably are already subscribed to Fintech on YouTube. But if you're not already, I have a link posted down in the description. Make sure you go follow that guy. You will see the best gameplay you've seen anywhere. So lots of stuff to learn. Definitely go check Fintech out. One last thank you to him for agreeing to come and talk to us. It was a pleasure. Yeah, that's pretty much all for now, guys. Still up in the air about the war season and everything. Make sure to check back with us this time next Monday. We're going to kind of get everybody up to speed on, how things are going towards the final wars of the season. Thank you, everyone who watched. If you're able, go ahead and push that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.